How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees with your boys Alex and Ryan. Today we're talking about a mock trade that was very interesting. We dropped it on the social media channels. It's for Dylan Cease of the Chicago White Sox. Obviously, Dylan Cease, a lot of control, really good pitcher, a lot of upside coming off a relatively down year, but the upside is substantial. If you're going to go out and acquire a player of this magnitude, it's going to cost. And it's not going to cost you a little, it's going to cost you a whole hell of a lot. So when looking at what the Yankees would have to give, we're talking about top pitching prospect and top outfield prospect and then some. So, this is going to be an interesting debate. We're going to talk about I think Ryan and I are on the same page here. The deal is fair, but it's not something that we're willing to do. I think I want to get that clear right off the bat. It's a fair deal because of how valuable Dylan Cease is. But in terms of actually doing it, that's a whole different discussion. So Ryan, before we dive into the good stuff, how you do today, my friend?
So, ultimately, yeah, I'm doing well. But this is, I think this episode is more about, hey, guys, so if you want the Yankees to trade for Dylan Cease or, go out and trade for, I'm trying to think of some other, Corbin Burns might cost a little bit less, but not by much. If you want to get one of these top-of-the-line, multi-years of control starters, it's going to cost, they're going to ask for Jason Dominguez. They're not walking away from a Dylan Cease trade at the Yankees without one of Jason Dominguez or Spencer Jones. And I know that people may not like to hear this or people may not agree with this. But Alex, let's be real here. Spencer Jones and Jason Dominguez are valued very similarly. So if the Yankees are like, we don't want to part ways with Spencer Jones, the White Sox are going to spin around and say, no, well, we're going to want Jason Dominguez then. And if the Yankees aren't willing to play ball, they're not going to make a deal. Other teams are involved in this sweepstakes. The Baltimore Orioles are probably better set up to make this deal. So the Yankees are underdogs in the first place. The Yankees would have to make an offer they're not comfortable with. I don't think the New York Yankees are a team that should be making this type of trade because I think they could find value elsewhere. But yeah, this is going to be a fair offer. If the Yankees made this offer, I'm not even sure that it would be the best offer on the table. I would argue that there's a chance, and it's a sliver of a chance, that the Orioles could top that offer if they really wanted to. Or even the Red Sox could try to top that offer if they wanted to. It's a market that is definitely very, very robust. I know that the Braves pulled themselves out of that market because of how crazy the bidding was getting, and they didn't really have the prospects for it. But I would say the Braves don't really have the trade capital that teams like the Yankees, the Orioles, or Red Sox do. I think the Yankees are much closer to teams like Baltimore in terms of trade capital. But end of the day, Alex, this is kind of my warning, my red alert, my, hey guys, just want you guys to know, the Yankees are probably not trading for Dylan Cease. Not probably, they're definitely not trading for Dylan Cease. I expect them to be involved. I expect them to do their due diligence. That's the mark of a good GM. If Brian Cashman just didn't try, I would feel weird about that. Even with Yamamoto, they felt like that was their guy, that they were going to get him. Then they kind of realized, all right, the Dodgers offered $325, and he seems pretty intent on going there. And that's how things went. I think the biggest thing that, I overlooked in my analysis of missing out on Yamamoto was, yes, Soto was the most important player to get this winter, but it created a lot of uncertainty around what the Yankees would do. This is kind of the first time in a while. I know left field last year, the Yankees didn't do anything, but it never really felt like the Yankees were walking into the offseason with a guy they wanted to get in left field and then missed on them. I think they kind of knew that they were going to have a vacuum in left field. This time around, I feel like the Yankees are just a little bit lost in terms of hey, what are we going to do in the rotation? What are we going to end up doing to make those improvements and to get better? Andy Martino reported the Yankees are expected to have an active January. They're expected to be into the Blake Snell market. Alex, I don't know what exactly they're going to do at this point in time, but, trading Jason Dominguez, trading Chase Hampton, trading Will Warren, and trading Brock Selbridge for Dylan Cease doesn't really seem like that's what they're going to do. He's also here for 2 years, so you're going to have to pay him eventually, right? And he's a Scott Boras client. He's going to cost a lot of money, and I'm going to be honest with you, he's not signing an extension, right? I'm throwing the idea away that he's going to sign an extension. So we're sitting here, we're saying, hey, we're trading for just 2 years of Dylan Cease. You're not getting anything more of that. You can't guarantee anything more of that. And for that reason, I think the Yankees would never make that offer. But in the same vein, it's weird. It's a fair offer, but the Yankees shouldn't make it. That's weird. It's like the Jesus Luzardo situation. Yeah, the Marlins, it's fair if they ask for Spencer Jones and Austin Wells, but the Yankees shouldn't make that offer. If that makes any sense.
It does make sense. And the way I would describe it is this. You're mortgaging your future for a guy that's going to be gone in 2 years, most likely, or he signs an extension. But, he's coming off a relatively down season. Like, this is the reality of the situation. Jason Dominguez, and, Boone's already said it, the guy has all the tools. We saw it in live action. 8 games, 4 homers. He had basically had Tommy John surgery, needed it before he even went down. He was feeling that discomfort, and he was still hitting homers. Freaking Justin Verlander, for what it's worth. Dominguez is going to be our future center fielder, or at least our future left fielder. He'll plug the position that Verdugo leaves behind inevitably if he walks next offseason. Dominguez could be something truly, truly special. I don't want to give up on that personally. I know a lot of people say, well, you're prospect hugging, blah, blah, blah. I'm okay trading prospects. In fact, I like value. I like leveraging their value. But we've held on to Dominguez through thick and thin and every single thing in between. We refused to trade him for Luis Castillo. We refused to trade him for all these guys. And at the 1 yard line, when we're finally about to get him, finally about to see his worth and what he can be at 20 years old, we decided to move him. It doesn't make logical sense to me. At this point, I'm invested in the story of the Martian to see what he can be. I don't want to get rid of him. And then on top of it, Chase Hampton, who's been considered our number 1 pitching prospect for quite a while now. A lot of people will have Drew Thorpe over him, but Chase Hampton's right up there. This kid could be something really freaking good. Some people think he can make an impact this upcoming season, if not in 2025 as a starter. Will Warren has the potential impact to be a starter, a spot starter, if a back-end rotation guy, if not a bullpen arm this upcoming season, and make an impact too. And then throw in Brock Selvage, who obviously is more of a toss-in than anything else, but still a decent prospect with some upside. I personally think Warren, look, the trade may be fair, but I think it's too much for the Yankees to give away, having just given away so many players. You know what I mean? We've already shredded our farm for Juan Soto and Alex Verdugo. Are we really going to do more damage and part ways with Jason and part ways, one of the future pieces in the outfield, and part ways with Chase Hampton and Will Warren, 2 pitchers who we desperately need to have MLB value? I don't think that it makes sense for us. Especially, Ryan. Look, Dylan Cease is better than Montgomery, or he has the upside to be better. He has the upside to be better than Shane Bieber. He has the upside to be better than anybody that we could target right now. But we could just spend money on Blake Snell, who just won the NL Cy Young Award. And that's what you just kind of mentioned. The report saying that he would not be opposed to coming to the Yankees, and maybe they could find a shorter deal with an out, or maybe a 6-year deal with an out after the 3rd season. We'll see how they kind of construct that. Or just bring back Montgomery and give him what he wants, and then you end up keeping. The Yankees have the financial flexibility. You don't need to go get Dylan Cease. You could keep your prospects and just sign a player. And you're going to get a lot of value out of Montgomery and Snell next year. They're both coming off their best seasons ever, right? Both of them. Best seasons they've ever produced. So you're going to get good value from them, at least in the short term. Dylan Cease, look, if you're going to get good value from Montgomery and Snell over the next 2 years, that's all you really need to know, because Dylan Cease could walk after the next 2 years anyway, because his deal will be over. He'll be done. You know what I mean? He'll be done in arbitration. He'll be looking at free agency. So I think logically, I don't really buy into the Dylan Cease blockbuster deal. If it was a more reasonable thing and there was nobody else available, I'd say yes. Okay, if we have no choice, sure. But we have choices still. We still have Monty. We still have Snell. We could still go get Shane Bieber. We can. Like you said, Burns is going to cost less. And Ryan, for what it's worth, I don't want to trade for Corbin Burns right now. You want to know what I want to do? I want to wait until the freaking trade deadline and see if he costs a lot freaking less than he does right now, and then make sure he's healthy, for when the time comes around. I'd much rather wait until the deadline and if, I think we'll still be within playoff contention by then. Wait until then and then make that move for Corbin Burns, who's now going to be a 3-month rental. He's not going to cost you Spencer Jones and Hampton and plus some. He's going to cost you a lot less because he's probably not going to sign. He could end up just signing a deal back with the Guardians, and then the Yankees give up prospects. That's how these things go sometimes. So what are you thinking about this in terms of spending the money, just investing money, and then waiting until the trade deadline to try and get a guy like a Shane Bieber or a Burns at a far less cost in terms of prospect allocations?
Yeah, I'm all for the idea that, look, and I've always been a little bit skeptical of signing Blake Snell, and I still am. There are a lot of things that I'm you know what I mean? I don't love the fact that he hasn't pitched great, really deep into games. I don't love the fact that there's not the greatest track record of making starts consistently. Although it has been pointed out on social media that, some of the injuries, like he dropped furniture on his foot, and that's why I missed some starts. He had COVID, like stuff that he can't necessarily control. I am a little less, I guess I'm a little less resentful. Not resentful, that's not the word I'm looking for. I guess I'm a little less against the idea of giving a long-term deal, but I still am, on the side of I would not give him a long-term deal. I would like to give him a deal that's a little bit shorter term. Maybe you go 4 years, and maybe you give him an opt-out in years 1 or 2, something similar to Correa's deal. And by the way, Correa signed that, 3-year weird deal with the Twins. They had a first-year opt-out. He signed that while being a Scott Boras client. So, it's not like Scott Boras is against it. And then ultimately, Alex, as you mentioned, it just costs you money and a couple of draft picks because of the qualifying offer, but it does cost you just money, right? And as you mentioned, if you go to the deadline, you can better address your needs to the trade market. You keep that young nucleus of great prospects in your farm system. If you can reload next year, and you got for the long term, for the next 3 or 4 years, you have a rotation. We have Cole and Snell anchoring the top of your rotation. You still have Chase Hampton, Will Warren on the wings, who could be ready this year for Hampton. It could be later in the year. Warren, he might be ready as soon as opening day. But for the next 3 years, you have those two guys who can factor into your rotation. You have guys in your farm system. 3 years from now, Roderick Arias should be on the stepping stones of hey, this guy's right there in terms of major league impact. You expect Spencer Jones to have made his major league debut. You expect guys like Jason, Volpe, Wells to have kind of started to become established major league players. And honestly, Alex, you have a young nucleus of cost control position players. You have a young nucleus of cost controlled pitchers. You have, an organization that potentially has a World Series by then too. It removes a lot of pressure from the organization, I think. There's less, I guess, franticness, right? I'm not saying the Yankees wouldn't have traded for Juan Soto if they made the playoffs, but I feel like you and I would be a little less antsy about the Yankees needing to make moves, or the Yankees even needing to get Juan Soto in the first place had they not missed the playoffs last year. Not saying I was rooting for them to miss the playoffs. I always want my team to make the postseason. But more so to say that, not that the urgency would be gone, but the pressure to make moves that are risky and that are to make moves that can get people fired is gone. And another big thing for me is, if you have a ring, I mean, you put up you get a World Series title, those fly forever, right? We can sit here and talk about the long-term impact. We could talk about, in year 6, what does this team look like? How they pay certain guys, how certain guys are going to age, whatever. But, I mean, Alex, if in 2030 we're an 85-win team, I'm not going to really care. And they've shown an ability to develop young players even in contention windows. We're talking about guys like Dominguez, Volpe, Wells. Those are 3 guys who were drafted or signed and developed during the window in which the Yankees were consistently winning the AL East, or consistently, finishing in the top 5 in wins. And, they've been one of the 4 or 5 best teams in terms of win percentage over that stretch in time. Good organizations can develop talent even while they're winning. And the Yankees have done an excellent job of that. I can only speak to say that there are a lot of people in that Yankee organization who, other teams would have loved to pick up in terms of coaches. We just saw, Grayson Crawford, the AA hitting coach, get hired by the New York Mets to be their AAA hitting coach, pitching coach, excuse me. This is an organization that has a lot of bright young minds in their organization. Obviously, Matt Blake, Sam Breen, they're smart guys. I love the inclusion of James Rosen. I think he's going to add some balance in terms of getting more buy-in. And then ultimately, now you cultivate a culture of winning, and you cultivate a culture of player development, spending, sustainable winning, title contention. That's the kind of thing that, brings back the allure of the Bronx. What makes New York special, what makes the Yankees special, what makes the pinstripe special, it's not the brand, it's not just the logo, it's not just the uniform, it's the tradition of winning, it's the continued tradition of winning, it's the sustainable success, it's the fact that I am 19 years old and I've never seen a team below 500 for the New York Yankees. Alex, I'm pretty sure you have not seen a below 500 team. We're both adults, we're both full-on adults, maturity-wise, maybe not an adult on my end, but, in terms of age, we're both adults, and we've never seen a below 500 Yankee team. That is the allure of the Bronx. It's the ability to win, and Blake Snell wants to play for a win-now team. Blake Snell, this is a quick pitch to you. If you want to win a World Series title, if you want to boost your market, if you want to be, up there with the best pitchers, the best hitters, the best players to ever play this game, and don the pinstripes and win a World Series title, that happens here, right? If you want to go play for the fucking Angels and suck for 6 years, sure. If you want to go play for the Giants and win 84 games and, be the bride, be the groom but never or the bride but never the bridesmaid, or whatever that expression is, finish checking on every big free agent, sure. If you want to get pounded by the Dodgers every 5 days, sure. But if you want to be the top dog, if you want to play on the best team in the world, you want to form the best team in the world, and you want to contend every single year, happens in New York. Don't worry about San Francisco. Don't worry about Anaheim. Come to New York.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see what happens here, my friends. Definitely the interesting mock trade on Dylan Cease. Love to hear perspectives on that. I think it's a fair deal, but we're not on board for it for obvious reasons. Just kind of mortgaging your future even further, and there's still options out there that will just cost money or far less capital, like a Shane Bieber. And then we can wait until the trade deadline and see, if there's anyone available for a much more affordable cost and price. So always happy to hear perspectives down below in the YouTube comment section. Make sure to like and subscribe as always. I'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Yankees episode.